even with the zoning change, they can
still operate.
They can still operate. Can they sell it as a salvage yard?
No,
They cannot.
no.
Under commercial? If it was rezoned commercial?
No, then if we rezone it, they can't sell it as a salvage yard.
What about the east end? Why don't we change that one too? That's my big, and I emailed that to Scott, that needs to be rezoned as R2 or lakefront.
Well,
I would
before we get
certainly
off,
agree that-
But I understand.
Yeah,
that.
before we
But
get
I'm
off
just saying,
the
those are
subject,
the things
yeah,
too.
before this, I'd like to know, with the scope of business that they're operating on now, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're doing business. You might be right, John, but with the scope of business that they're doing now, which is basically, if this is true, they're selling parts out of there. Is it industrial?
Well, it isn't against the industrial regulation.
Or is it a commercial risk? I mean, is it a commercial?
I don't-
No, I sat around this morning trying to figure out, they're not processing vehicles like quants, crushing them, and et cetera. Are they a commercial?
But it would seem that they really can't have it both ways then, because if you would consider them to be a commercial sales vendor, they certainly wouldn't have any rights to designate themselves as a salvage yard, which is the only way that that amount of vehicles would be allowed in one location.
Oh.
Okay. So you're saying under the commercial zoning, they're restricted on amount of vehicles in that particular area?
Any place in town. If anybody in town keeps, I believe it's more than 5 vehicles, we consider it to be a salvage yard. They got to meet the requirements of the salvage yard ordinance.
So if we rezone that, they would have to get rid of so many of those vehicles? Is
No,
that-
I don't believe so. They're entitled, if this property were rezoned, and it's been talked about being rezoned as commercial, if it were rezoned as commercial, they're entitled to continue operations if they're operating. They're entitled to continue operations. If the operations ever cease, I believe it's 6 months. If operations cease for 6 months, they lose their grandfather. And it would have to be cleaned.
Okay, then, over the winter months, if we have a lot of snow this year, and they can't get in there to get parts, if the snow comes in November and doesn't leave until
See, and that's
March,
But that's what John was saying then too, about the requirements of being a salvage yard. One of the requirements of being a state-sanctioned salvage yard is that it has a shop. So you have an interior space where you can continue to do work.
Yeah, but you couldn't get it out of this vehicle that's buried out there in 6 feet of snow.
So you're trying to use the law to run them out down?
I don't
think
know,
it's-
but I just,
I think it's bull. I bought parts from there. From my 55 Chevy.
Well, let's go back to the fact that they're grandfathered in.
Yeah.
But then they're going to try to go around that by not selling something for, what'd you say?
6 months.
So what they're trying to do is they're trying to
That's the
sneak
DOT.
under the wire.
We have city
City.
regulations.
City
You have
regulations.
city regulations
That's
regarding
bull.
grandfathered use.
No.
Is the DOT threatening to close it?
Nope.
No.